So I'm Laura Lynn, and this is part 4 of my teaching on prophetic art. In this section of teaching, I've decided to focus on process and how a painting sort of starts and finishes. To understand your process, your creative process as an artist, you'll be able to better understand yourself and the way that you create. In so doing, you can hopefully become more productive as an artist and as a communicator of your ideas. You know, in creativity, there's this thing, you know, like people have a hard time with it because linear people were trained that the easiest route from A to B is one straight line from, you know, just with no detours. Just the quickest, shortest way to get from A to B would be one straight line. However, in the creative process of things, it's never like that. It's never the shortest way from A to B. Instead, the creative process is more like if this were A and this were B, it would be more like a wing, like it's like a crazy journey. You kind of go all the way around, and through all that mess, you eventually get to your destination. So it kind of requires like this exploration and this discipline, and you're working on being more creative. I think it's important to be open to all kinds of ideas. When you're exercising your actual skills and talents and your creativity, what if we took every idea that was in our head and just made a quick sketch of it? It doesn't necessarily have to like turn out to be a full-on painting, but as an exercise in creativity, becoming a master at your craft, which would include like working on your drawing skills. You're painting from different perspectives, you're using different styles. All of this can work like for your benefit. Actually, it gives you a greater toolbox to be able to better like articulate what it is that he's trying to tell you. So I think that there's that aspect of it, and that it does work to promote the creative prophetic part of this process. But anyway, I start off with this, what I call stage 1, which is a prelude stage. And for me, I've learned that I have 2 different processes when it comes to creating a piece of art. So I'll start with the first process, which is my internal process. Like within my spirit, before even picking up a paintbrush, these ideas have already taken place in my mind and grown. Because it's almost like they are too delicate to paint right away. They need time to simmer and mature just within my spirit. These internal ideas, like there's a certain moment where there's action required. And it's kind of like get going, you know, like now type experience where I feel restless. There's like a sense of urgency when an internal idea that has been sitting in my spirit for a while, and I already know what it looks like in my head. I know exactly where I'm going on the canvas with it. And when the now time comes, and I don't really know how to explain it other than it feels like it's just been breathed on, like it's for now. And I feel like I need to respond in a prompt manner. I have another process though. It's called, like I call it, painting a foggy idea. So rather than keeping the idea in my head, a foggy idea will come to me, and I'll just have a piece of it. Rather than creating it internally, I'm actually creating it externally. These paintings have a completely different feel than the ones that I've created already internally. It's like I have to hold the canvas loosely, and I have to sort of let myself be free in the moment. So this would be one of those paintings. I started out with a background, and this got painted 2 or 3 times before it ended up being that color, because it was false starts, I wasn't sure where it was going, blah blah blah. Then the only idea that I had in my head was this diamond right here in the middle. And it sat there for a week or two, and I was still stuck on it. And I find that when I get stuck on a piece like this, actually moving settings helps jolt my creativity again. So what I did is I took this one to Edmonton, give myself permission to paint without really thinking about it, just sort of like allowing it to come out, and just seeing what happens. It's a total experiment. It's like painting with faith. As I'm painting a piece like this, I'll have to set it down and look at it from different angles. Like I'll have to check it out from like further away, from the side. What am I seeing in it? And I'm literally creating it as it's forming on the canvas. It's a cool way to paint, but you never really know what it's going to look like until the end. I give myself time within the process. I give myself time right at the end of the process to make sure, like, is this ready? Is this done? Yes. All right. So if the answer for me is yes, this painting is done, then I almost immediately go into interpretation mode. There's a degree in my creative process right from the beginning, especially with my internal creativity, where I'm just talking it out with other people. And sometimes, actually, the interpretation for a piece of art can come through other people. There's a room for that. There's a space for that. And I think, the body works together, absolutely. But I also feel like it's kind of important to learn how to interpret your own art. What happens is I collect all these kind of words and verses and thoughts that I have about the piece, and I end up writing them on the back of the canvas. And it's kind of hilarious because now that I sell my art, I've actually become known for this. And people who want to buy my art, they actually get upset if I don't do it. Like if I don't write on the back, it's almost as important that I write on the back to them as the picture itself. So on the back of this one, as I thought about it and processed it, this is what the Lord gave me as an interpretation for this piece of art. It says, surrounded by God's promises, the white stone of the overcomer. That it has to do with the Song of Solomon, a bouquet of diamonds, and that is storm, pressing, and pressure. Like forming the diamond only through the pressure that a storm could bring. And through the pressure of that healing journey that came to your life, a diamond, the white stone of the overcomer, is created. Just about all of my paintings start out, I feel, as a word for myself. And I never actually really recognized this until I started doing this video. That I'm like, oh, that painting, it's totally for me. and then it ends up being for a lot more than just me. But I think the idea in that is that it should affect me first. It really, because it is a word. It's a word not only for me, but it's also for other people, but it needs to affect me first. And I actually, as I was pondering this, I'm like, not only should it affect me, but it should affect me deeply. Because it's something that the Lord is saying, through me. And I feel that when I am affected by it, and when I am moved by the word that the Lord gives me, it actually helps me to remain humble, for one. It helps me feed off of my own gifting, and it gives the Lord the glory, because it's like, it's not about me anymore. I'm thanking Him for the word that He's given me and how it's touched my heart and touched my life. And for a painting that goes public, that moving inside of me can happen 2 or 3 times. All of that just kind of, like, it's like He aligns my spirit to receive, and that I need to respond to it too, because it is a prophetic thing, right? It's as I'm releasing it publicly, all right? So now it's displayed, it's in a public place, all this is going through it. people generally have questions about it or have their own thoughts and feelings on it, and a lot of times they'll come over and ask me to explain it further, tell me what they feel the Lord is saying through it. People say that that should kind of like refill you or sort of give back to you too. But for me, it actually doesn't. It's as if during the painting, I have filled up this bathtub of water. And as I release it publicly and I allow it to affect me, it's like that bathtub slowly, somebody just kind of pulls the plug and it slowly just drains all the way out, all the water. So in essence, when afterwards, when I'm further explaining it or I'm continuing to speak on that particular piece of painting, it helps me empty all of what was in my heart about that piece of art. But at the same time, I actually find that really draining emotionally and spiritually. And that leads me to stage 5 of my process, which is the recovery part. And I feel like this is like the hardest part of my process, this part right here, the recovery part. Because once I release a painting, when it's a personal word for maybe one other person, that emotional bump doesn't take me long to get over. It's really not that bad. I've learned how to roll with the punches. But when, like, the deeper and the more profound the word is, it's almost like the more vulnerable and sensitive I get afterwards. So, my first and most profitable, effective way of caring for myself after is actually what I call an armor bearer. There are people in the church that I don't even know if they realize how much prophetic people need them, or at least I need them to be around. They act like a tether to me in the spirit, and they help keep me grounded before, during, and after a word is given. Generally, if one of those people was around, all I need to do is hang on to their arm and just sort of be close to them for a while afterwards while I recover. And it's the quickest, most effective way for me to feel complete again. Unfortunately, they're not always around. It's like 3 other different ways of recovery. One would be going out to see my horse, and he helps me to kind of come back. I'll come into my room, close the door, lay on my bed, take a rest. Because being in public when I'm that sensitive and that emotional, sort of like that vulnerable, is really tough for me. But I find that spending that time by myself is probably the least effective way for me to actually recover. The 4th way I tend to recover is by eating something. And sometimes I need all of this. So if I would appreciate if any of you have any further insight into how to recover better, could you please leave comments below, because I would love to hear them. And basically, I'm holding the painting at arm's length. I no longer have an attachment to that piece of painting. It's only then that I actually feel fully recovered. So through it all, us artists, we need the help of those around us to support us, during the inspiration, the prelude, basically the whole journey. I really couldn't do it without the body of Christ. Also, that time with the Lord is so precious. Yeah. So that's pretty much like what I wanted to say about process. I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please leave comments at the end of this video. I'd love to hear it. All right. Bye.